Hey everybody, welcome back to another devlog video. So in this one, I want to talk a lot more about the debugs that I have for the project. A lot of it done in Dear ImGui, which you see on screen here. When I work on games, both professionally and personally, I start getting obsessed with debugs. You know, being able to see data on screen or through these panels, through other UI, being able to see explicitly what's happening at any given moment. So I'm worried a little bit if I'm just running into a pitfall of just creating a bunch of debugs before I even know if my game is fun or not. I believe I'm finding the fun, but at the same time, I'm taking a lot of the time to kind of think about what debugs I need, implementing some of the ones that I need as I'm kind of developing features. So, for example, this project uses the Gameplay Ability System plugin. For those who are not familiar, the Gameplay Ability System plugin is a plugin from Epic Games. They use it for Fortnite. I believe Clear Obscura uses it. We used it on Outriders. And there's a lot of other games within the Unreal Engine ecosystem that uses the Gameplay Ability System that just lets you create attributes or stats, allows you to modify those attributes and stats with gameplay effects, lets you do abilities that you can then cast spells or do sword attacks or shoot a gun, whatever the case might be. And then you have things like gameplay cues that are the visual aspects of those events and abilities. So one of the first things I did for my game is that the Gameplay Ability System doesn't really give you any intuitive way to modify stats at runtime. They don't even give you like a console command or anything like that. So you would have to use a gameplay effect if you wanted to do any sort of modification or anything like that. So the first thing I did was create this ImGui debug window that displays all the attributes granted first and foremost onto the character you can select. So obviously at the player character, I'm selecting them. And it shows you the base, the current, and the delta currently. And as well as you can modify the attribute if you wanted to. So for example, I have a lot of things for card resource. The card resources are these yellow circles that you see to the right, and these resources are what you use to activate cards. So cards have a cost. You use the cost from these card resources, and you generate these card resources through gameplay mechanics like killing an enemy, dealing a lot of damage, possibly proccing status effects, and just also generating them passively. So in order to prove the UI, in order to prove the flow of this mechanic, I make sure to make these attributes. So I have like a current energy attribute and a maximum energy attribute, as well as the XP aspects of it. And so I can modify these attributes at runtime, and you can see it get reflected in the UI. So if I say my current card energy now is 5, you'll see the circle update, and now I'm passively gaining more again. And then I can make it 5 again, and I can make my total amount 10, and you'll see the UI update. And then I can say, okay, let's make it 9, and I can update things like the the passive energy XP gain. So right now it's 2 XP per second, so I can make that 20, for example, and you'll see the UI reflect that as well on the right. But it's not just the card resources. I have things like the health resources, so I can set my current health to like 70 if I wanted to. You can see the UI updating as I'm making changes, and I can make it 700 if I wanted to, but obviously it'll clamp back up to 100 because of how I'm setting up the attribute sets. I could set the current maximum to 200. I can set the current back to 100, but also the current will modify alongside the maximum in order to keep the same ratio. So for example, if I set everything back to 100, so from maximum, bring it back to 100. If I were to make my health 50, and then make my max health 200, it'll stay at 100, which is 50% of the max health. So it's a very cool mechanic within the attribute set. I think they have examples online from Tranix documentation on how to set it up in your attribute set. If you're interested, I'll put a link in the description below. But also things like damage modifier, critical chance, critical damage multipliers. These are all things I can modify at runtime and kind of view. So for example, if I wanted to make my critical chance 100%, I could do that. So if I were to spawn a guy over here, see how I'm not getting any kind of criticals, but then if I make my critical chance 100, now I'm getting criticals all the time. So that's nice to see and work. So I could test things pretty easily. Sorry, that's not critical damage, that's damage multiplier. One thing I need to fix is to make that clearer. So now I'm getting crits, so still works. So you can see when my critical chance is 100, I get crits every single hit. If I were to make that 0.5, only half the time would I get a critical hit. So it's super useful to test things in the damage pipeline, for example, looking at how my UI reacts, how I can kind of debug and get myself more health, reduce damage reduction. I can also have things like duration attribute sets, duration multipliers. So, for example, I have this fireball mechanic, right? And this fireball card, when I activate it, it gets slotted in, and by default, it has a duration. I think it's like 8 seconds or 5 seconds or something like that. But what I can do is I have additional modifiers here for my attribute set. So I have ability duration multiplier, where I can increase that or decrease that at runtime. So if I kind of reset everything, go back into my attributes, go back into my attributes, and I go to a duration multiplier, and if I effectively double it, and then I activate this card, which I don't have enough cost for, but I can set up an ignore cost boolean, which I have. So card cost, ignore card cost. So now I should be able to afford it. And now with the double duration, I can activate this, and now the duration is twice as long. You can kind of see the duration bar at the bottom left. It's kind of hard to see at max screen size, but you can kind of take my word for it. So having this ImGui debug for gameplay attributes is super useful, and when I have other enemies or other characters on screen, they can appear in this drop-down list, and then I can view their attributes. So I could set this guy's health to 50 if I wanted to, and you can see it reflected in the UI. I also can make it 200, and you can see it reflected in the UI, and just apply a bunch of stuff to that character if I so wanted to. So that's the first part, gameplay attributes. If you're working with gas, it's something you should definitely implement for your project if you want to really speed up your production pipeline. When I had to set up this UI for like the card resources and how I wanted those circles to behave, even though I'm going to get rid of that, how it visually looks, I'm going to change it again. Setting that up and testing things with that debugger made my life a million times easier. I could just set values and just see how it reacted and just find the bugs really quickly. So the next thing I did is I have my damage pipeline, and I think I showed this off in a different video when I talked about damage, so I won't go too deeply into it, but this is also a crazy good debug. So as I'm dealing damage, and I have stuff in my history here, I can go to my character, I can go to damage, I can go to applied, and I can go to physical damage, and I could see all the information about that damage. The tags that were evolved into at that time, the instigator, the target's tags, whether or not it was critical, damage over time, if it was resisted, if there was lifesteal involved, the damage type, the modification value, so you can see base value 3, final value 3, modified 0, and I can simulate the damage as much as I want. And I can see there's no hit result with those, which is fine because I'm just simulating, but for the ones that did have a hit result, the ones I did with the actual sword, you'll see here. And of course, we can make sure we ignore simulated damage, so we just don't have to see those ones if we don't want to, because they can occupy a lot of space. And then what's cool is it also will hook into these other attributes. So if I go to my player character and I change my critical chance and damage multiplier, I can then deal some more damage. And then we can see here in my damage pipeline, those instances of damage have more information. So we have the base value, the modified value being 3, and the final being 6. We see the critical chance was 1, the critical damage multiplier was 0, and damage multiplier was 1. So you could just see how these things mathematically happen here. And then you can see the critical chance box is checked here. And it gives you a lot of cool information. And of course, I can then see received if I wanted to. So I think I've just been receiving healing, if I'm not mistaken. I forget if this is the thing that the guy hits me with. Yeah, so I'm receiving healing. You'll see the base, the modified, the final, and you'll just see all the healing factors that I'm getting. And I can simulate the healing. I can see all the information regarding the healing at the time that it happened. So again, a lot of detail that I hope will pay off long term once we start really getting into the deep end of combat, because it's going to be fast paced. We might need to report a bunch of stuff, see what the damage logic is working, what's not working, what values are being modified, how is that working mathematically. Are we getting all the right information when it's a critical, if it's a damage over time, if it's resisted, if there's lifesteal, and how that works from character to the player to an enemy and back and forth. So I'm hoping this will be worth the effort that I did to put into it, because it's definitely a lot, but I like how it turned out. It seems it's pretty organized and everything, and hopefully it's scalable long term. We'll have to see. And so next one, I believe I can add cards here. So for example, up on the down on the D-pad, we'll add cards to the player's hand. And then I had this card hand layout, which I don't really use anymore because I found values that I really liked. But for transparency, the card information, the card logic visually on the UI was something I got off of Fab. It's a card hand layout template, but I migrated all of the customization parameters into ImGui. So I can now, if I wanted to, adjust spacing just to see what it looks like. And I can do scale just to see what it looks like. Animation speeds, I can bring it down, and then when I give myself a card, you can see how slow it works. And then if I speed it up, you can see how things kind of are increased in speed. I can adjust card angle. I can do card arc. So if you wanted less or more arc, extras the offset, selected card scale, and then show X amount, show Y amount, and a bunch of stuff. And then I can add a card, remove a card, just to see how it all kind of scales in. And I can just see the cards in hand. So again, another really useful debug that I found with this UI, so I can kind of test things, see what looks nice visually in the player's hand in the UI when things are activated. So hopefully it will pay off long term. I don't really play with this too much, but as time goes on, I may revisit it just to see how it looks. Ideally, I would be able to like save these settings as well, but it's too lazy to really implement something like that. The latest debugger that I created was this player deck manager component. And so what it does is it lists all of the types of cards in the project currently. So it does a scrub for all the specific data assets, these card data assets, and displays them on the ImGui screen. And you can see information about it. So you can see the directory, the card info, so what the card name, card description, the card slot type, some information about the ability set information like the granted abilities, granted gameplay effects. You can also add the specific card to your hand, and you can override the card level if you wanted to. So I'll start with a fresh instance of Pi here. And what I want to show you as well, what's really cool about this is you can open these assets at runtime. So if you're playing in the editor and you want to look at these assets directly, you can just click on them and it will open up the asset in the content browser for you automatically. So same thing with gameplay abilities. You can see it opens up the fireball ability here. It does it for gameplay effects as well. So you can see behind here, gameplay effect. I also did it for the image. So for the icon, it opens up the icon image as well, just so you can easily look at it. And what I also like about this is you can filter for specific card information. So if we know that we have any with missing card names, we can display it here. So you can see, because of all the refactoring I've been doing about cards and how I'm structuring them, how they exist as data, I've been kind of lazy about re-implementing other cards and just working with this fireball example. But you can see which ones are missing card names, descriptions. Obviously, they're all missing descriptions and they're all missing card icons. And then you can also see which ones are missing an ability set. So it'll definitely help me holistically look at all the different kind of cards that are in the game. And I can also, at that specific time, add that card to the hand. So for example, I could override the card level. So right now I have a card level, I believe it's card level 3, and that's the cost is 4. So I can just make a level 1 card in. So you can see card. So yeah, card level's on the right, cost is on the left. It's very confusing with how basic the layout of the card is. So, but what you can do now is I can make it a level 5 card if I wanted to. And then we have level 8 and 10. Like obviously these card values, we only going to have a max of 5, so I'm going to make sure we can't really get to that maximum. But you can see that it works pretty well. And you can do that with any of these cards, right? And And so overall, I think this will also help and be useful to holistically look at all the cards. Maybe I could create like a fuzzy search for specific cards, but I'm too lazy as well for that, so it's way above my head. But I also have additional debug options. I can also just ignore costs if I wanted to. Here, just enable it. It's the same thing as that console command that I was showing earlier. And so yeah, that's a bunch of the ImGui based debugs that I have. There's a lot more debugs that I have in general when I want to visualize, for example, the melee shapes. So when you do melee attacks, you can look at the shapes at runtime. Area of effect debugs as well. And I'm sure there's more that I'm forgetting, but I wanted to kind of showcase the basic ones for now, because these are the ones that I made that are custom for my project that I think are going to be super useful. And I'm curious what you guys think. How often do you try to work on debug options while you're implementing a feature? Why or why not? Like, again, I know I'm running into the pattern of like, oh, I made this feature, I need to make a debug for it, but at the same time, that feature may be subject to change. You know, it may turn out that this feature sucks and it's not usable, and then I wasted time making a debug for it. So I'm kind of clashing with myself internally. Based on my experiences in AAA, we always try to make sure there's debug console commands available, like data-driven CVars we use pretty commonly on the design team, so we can do things for ourselves to, you know, debug our own stuff. But you know, on holistic higher level systems, we make sure there are ImGui debugs available, or just console commands to make sure we can visualize melee traces or hit events, hit reaction information, forcing hit reactions and stuff like that. So I'm curious what your guys' experiences are in this realm. What do you think are other important debugs that maybe I'm missing or I didn't show? And let me know what you're looking forward to most in this project. For me, now that we have duration-based cards, I'm excited to start working on card stacking. So this week and going on to the next week, probably take me a little bit more time, but I want to be able to stack identical cards on top of each other so that if you have more than one fireball card, for example, and you only have one ability slot, you can stack them into that one slot. And what I think will be an interesting mechanic, because I want to have cards level up on an individual level, is that if you decide to stack a fireball card, so say the first card you put in is a level 4 card, then regardless of the other card levels of the other fireballs in your hand, if you stack on top of that one, they will become a level 4. So if you have a level 4 and 2 level 2s, and you put the level 4 in first, and then you stack the 2s, you will get a stack count of 2 plus the 4, but they're all level 4. Alternatively, if you do a level 2 first, and then you stack a level 4 on top of that, that 4 will become a 2. So I think that might lead to some interesting kind of thought processes when trying to see which cards to activate when. So I'm curious what you guys think about that mechanic, but in general, curious what you guys think about the project. So if you aren't already following me here, make sure to subscribe. In the link below, you'll find links to my Twitch, as well as the Discord server, as well as the GitHub repository where you can see the code for this project for free. So make sure to follow, make sure to subscribe, all of that good stuff, and I will see you in the next video.